Hello everyone. Today I want to change things up a little bit and I'm going to try and make a recipe that drives a bit of controversy over the internet. I'm going to make a carbonara adjacent plate. So I have here my cream and come on, I'm a heathen, not a heretic. I'm not going to use cream. I am, however, using Portuguese ingredients. So since we don't have guanciale, I have this. This is smoked pork face, or half of it at least. And it includes the cheek, which basically is the guanciale. The difference is guanciale is just cured, and this one is smoked. It's still cured though. And rather than pecorino, I'm going to use these. These are cured sheep cheeses. These are quite common in Portugal. You can find them anywhere. And the taste is actually quite amazing. So let's go slaughter some carbonara.
The pork face comes in one of those annoying plastic packages, so use a knife to slice it open, and avoid cutting a finger off. Smoked pork face has a similar consistency to jerky. That's part of the reason why I'm using one of my hunting knives. With the meat outside the package, I want to separate the cheek section from the rest of the face. Use sawing motion to help cut through the meat. If you run into any bones or harder tissue, try to cut from a different angle. Applying some strength also helps. This is the piece you want to use for the carbonara, the cheek. It's the meatiest part of the jowl, and one of the most tender meats you can find. I know it looks dry. That's because this style of curing removes the majority of moisture from the meat, and cold smoking promotes Maillard reactions, effectively browning the meat before cooking. But have no fear. As you can see, there is a significant amount of fat attached to this cheek. It's going to render nicely and add to the creamless creaminess of the carbonara. I'm not removing the skin. I will be cooking this to the point where it will have the same texture as crisps, but it's perfectly fine to just remove it if you prefer. Try to keep the cheek strips roughly the same size, so that they cook simultaneously. Now let's grate the cheese, after removing the annoying plastic of course. I'm using 4 100-gram cheeses, since I'll be cooking pasta for 4 people. I've learned the hard way that 4 servings is the largest amount of carbonara I can effectively prepare with quality. Since these cheeses don't have a wax coat, you can just go ahead and grate them. There's no need to remove the rind. They have a strong, tangy flavor that merges beautifully with the smoke from the pork and black pepper. With all the prep work finished, I'll just set a large pot on the stove on high heat. I'll be cooking 500 grams of spaghetti, so I need a large pot for the pasta to move freely. I like to add some salt, but keep in mind that the sheep cheese is already salty. Using the electric jar helps the water come to a boil faster. I had to heat up 2 full jars to fill this pot. Having excess water will be an advantage when I have to take some pasta water for the carbonara sauce. While my pasta water heats up, I'll start frying the pork. Set a wok over low heat. I usually get better results when doing this slowly. There's no need to add any fat. The pork cheek will render enough fat to fry itself and coat the spaghetti afterwards. Since the meat has very little moisture, it quickly starts to render and gain more color. The thinner the meat strips are cut, the easier the fat will render, and the quicker they cook. I like to cook them until they become golden brown and completely crispy. I remove them from the wok with a skimmer and set them aside. If I kept them in when I added the boiled pasta to the fat, they would get soggy and lose most of their crispiness. I prefer to add them later after plating the pasta with sauce. The water is nearly boiling, so I'll just break the eggs and separate the yolk from the whites before dropping my spaghetti in the pot. I will be cooking 500 grams of spaghetti, so I'll be using 5 egg yolks plus a full egg. I'll save the whites for another recipe I'll be cooking and filming later with my son. I'll drop a card on this video when I upload that. For this sauce, there is no problem if you let some of the white go with the yolk. When breaking the whole egg, I break it into a separate recipient, like a mug. Never break eggs directly into your main mixing bowl with ingredients. You don't want to ruin a perfectly good mixture with a random rotten egg. The water is at a roaring boil. It's time to add the spaghetti. Just hold it vertically over the pot, touching the bottom. Twist and release for the spaghetti to open like a fan. The pasta should soften as soon as it gets in the water. Push it down to get everything submerged and cooking. Follow the cooking time instructions on the package. I like my pasta al dente, and the 6-minute indication was spot on. After roughly half the cooking time for my pasta has passed, I'll finish the carbonara sauce. Beat the eggs until they become smooth and homogeneous. Then, add about half of the shredded cheese, and mix thoroughly. At this stage I started wondering if I had grated the cheese too coarsely. It's easier to get a smoother texture in the sauce with a finer grain. Add a bit of the hot pasta water. Do it a little at a time to avoid ending up with scrambled eggs. When everything is well mixed, add the remaining cheese and mix again. Add more pasta water to get the creamiest texture. The hot water should partially melt the cheese and help incorporate with the eggs. My sauce wasn't as creamy as I wanted, so I just got some more pasta water to add in. You should do this as many times as needed to get the texture to your taste. My taste wants this extremely creamy. Now it's looking creamy enough. Before I'm done mixing the sauce, I'll add a generous amount of black pepper and mix everything thoroughly again. My spaghetti has finished cooking. I'll use a pair of kitchen tongs to remove it from the pot directly into the rendered fat from the pork cheek. Some of the water will hitch a ride with the pasta, but that's perfectly fine. It will incorporate well into the sauce. I promise I will train my tongue and pasta skill and make my ancestors proud one day. When I finally got all the spaghetti out, I just mix and toss it around the wok to completely cover all threads with that delicious fat. Once it's well coated, I'll toss it directly into the bowl with my sauce and actively mix it around. The residual heat from the pasta will slowly cook the egg and thicken the sauce. Make sure it happens slowly, so the sauce gets really creamy, without actual cream. Keep stirring it with the tongs to get the spaghetti completely covered. I heard all the cool kids over the internet are tossing their carbonara while in the bowl. It's supposed to help aerate the creamy creamless sauce. I'm not sure about that, but it's fun to do as long as the carbonara remains inside the bowl. And now, as you might have guessed, I'll serve the dinosaur plate. Unfortunately, the typical table footage I present for the video ending got corrupted, so I won't be showing that at the end of the video. After stacking the carbonara in the middle of the plate, I like to grind a little more black pepper on top. Trust me, my son likes black pepper. And top it with a crispy smoked pork face to finish. And here is a perfectly slaughtered carbonara with Portuguese ingredients.